What do teddy bears eat? 7 teddies share their favorite dishes. Written, adapted, and illustrated by Laurie Campbell. What do teddy bears like to eat? This question puzzles me. I have a house full of bears. Some are golden brown, some are black, some are lean, and others are chubby and round. But whatever their size or shape, I want my bears to be alert, active, and ready to play. And if they want to invite their friends, I would like to know what to serve them. Silly me, I'll ask George. George is very wise. George talks to the other bears, and after discussion, they select 7 bears, including George, to be interviewed. My interviews took place in the course of one day. We started with breakfast and finished with a bedtime snack. The bears were happy to share the recipes and memories of serving their favorite meals and dishes. I begin the next morning with George. He's wearing his pajamas. He looks at me intently with his little brown eyes, and speaking in a low, rumbling voice, he says, "I think that the reason I'm grumpy in the morning is because of the porridge you cook." What has porridge got to do with being grumpy? Because it doesn't last in my tummy, and I get hungry, and then I get grumpy. What would you rather have instead? George, rubbing his paws together, leans forward and says, "Porridge, but not made with quick cooking oats. I would like to have George's giant mountain porridge, please. And how would I make this porridge?" I reach for my pen and paper. George looks at me with his tiny eyes, clears his throat, and tells me his recipe for George's giant mountain porridge. Use steel cut oats. This makes the porridge chewy and nutty when cooked. You need to cook enough to make a mountain in my bowl. Slowly cook and simmer. When the porridge is thick, then plop into my favorite dark blue bowl. Then add lots of raisins, cranberries, and sunflower seeds. You will also need heaps of yogurt to cover the porridge to make it into a snow-covered mountain. Then drizzle maple syrup onto the peak. The maple syrup makes a sticky trail. And for the final touch, add 2 cinnamon sticks. What are the sticks for, I ask? Why, I will use them to ski down the mountain. I will eat the mountain as I ski down. By the time I'm finished, my tummy will be full, and I'll have the energy to play all day. Putting down my pen, I say to George, "Sounds tasty, but cooking a mountain of porridge will take a long time. You might faint from hunger. Perhaps I could start with a molehill portion instead of a mountain." Without blinking his eyes, George replies, "Why, you will just have to start cooking the night before. Have you never heard of a crock pot?" Peering over my glasses, I look at George and reply, "I don't have one. I'll put it on your Christmas list." "Oh, will you? That would be great. In the meantime, could you please make me at least a small bowl of porridge with all the trimmings?" I reach out my hand and hold his paw. "Deal," says I, and then I give him a big hug. Next is Wapoosk. Wapoosk means white bear in Cree. Wapoosk is doing yoga on my living room floor. After his exercise, he's very thirsty and wants to have something to drink. What would suit him the best is a polar berry float. The polar berry float is made with fruit juices, blackberries, blueberries as large as his head, and strawberries the size of a tablespoon, sweetened with lots and lots of honey, served in a large glass as big as a vase. "Why do you need such a large glass?" I ask. "I need a big glass so I can go diving in and swim to the bottom for the fruit. The swim is most refreshing, and all those fruits are full of vitamins and antioxidants, which will keep me healthy." I could imagine Wapoosk swimming to the bottom of the glass in search of fruit, just like the Japanese mermaids diving into the depths of the deep blue sea searching for pearls. This drink would be easy to make I tell Wapoosk to add the ingredients to the weekly shopping list. Off he goes to my writing desk where the shopping list sits. The clock on the wall says that it is 11 a.m. Now it is time to find Henri because he wants to tell me what his favorite dish is for lunch. Henri likes to play with my pots and pans and pretend that he is a chef. I call him Chef Henri and I find him sitting on the kitchen floor. What's for lunch? Chef Henri replies, hot dogs, hamburgers, and fries make me feel greasy inside. I love soup because you can combine so many flavors and textures. My favorite is rainbow soup. This sounds colorful. What's in your soup? Here are the ingredients, says Chef Henri. Spanish onions and juicy red, orange, and yellow tomatoes as big as your fist. Then add some bok choy for a new twist. Rutabagas, peppers, red, green, and yellow, sweet and hot are to follow. Purple beets and carrots, in they go. And at the top of the pot, I like to invite my friend Imelda the chicken to sit. Why does she sit at the top of the pot? Henri replies, because I do not want her to cook, but to simmer. Imelda likes to have a bath before coming to lunch, and I use her bath water to add flavor to the soup. This is why I'm looking for a big pot to cook my soup. This has to be one of the most unique ways of having your friend contribute and share in a meal. Sharing food is also important for Ginger. She wants to tell me about her favorite tea party. Ginger leans forward and looks over her glasses. There is a little twinkle in her eyes. She begins by saying, the first thing I prepared was a queen bear made of gingerbread, sitting on a throne made with scones. The scones were filled with strawberry jam. Ginger bear girls and boys with eyes and mouths made with licorice, wearing red, blue, and green rompers of marzipan stood at her feet. They were accompanied by pots of clotted cream, strawberry jam, and marmalade. There was plenty of hot tea and lots of honey and lemon. The tea was served in a pale green teapot with matching cups and saucers. I invited Uncle Ashcroft, who wore his favorite paisley waistcoat, which matched his tawny golden fur. He brought me daisies for the tea table. Cousin Sadie, wearing her blue dress, also brought me flowers. Aunt Lulu, wearing her purple hat and blue coat, brought me currant buns and a jar of plum preserves. Cousin Samantha also came wearing her favorite violet ribbons. She brought a gift of honey. Oh, this sounded all very delicious, and I wish I could spend more time with Ginger, but Captain Bob is waiting for me. He wants to tell me his favorite dessert. Captain Bob is a big, burly bear with mocha-colored fur. He's not a fan of tea parties. Scones are too small for him. Puddings, pies, tarts, or eclairs are just fine. What he really likes is a banana split boat. He leans back in his chair, rubs his stomach, licks his lips, and then he tells me, my banana split boat is loaded with 3 scoops of fudge and vanilla ice cream. No whipped cream for me. Instead, the split is studded with golden pineapple and mango too, with rubies and emeralds made from jujubes, and of course there is a river of hot, dark chocolate smothering the ice cream. This is my favorite dish. That's a mighty big cargo to unload. Do you have any crew members to help you eat this dish? I ask. Why, yes, there is Bruno, the black bear, with his large tan nose. With his big nose, he can smell my boat once it is loaded. Then there is Duncan, who wears the blue tartan. Little Mac, who wears the red Stuart tartan. and wee Campbell, whose tartan is dark green with yellow and blue, the color of the deep sea. His cousins, Glenn, Ian, and wee Jock, also come to help unload. They tell me that kilts are a grand thing to wear because if your tummy gets too full, you can adjust the belt buckle of the kilt to fit over it. That may be so, but I don't think that there would be a kilt big enough for me. Captain Bob asks if I would like to help unload the cargo the next time his banana split boat is full. I decline his offer. I would fall overboard at the mere sight of such a decadent dessert. I thank him and ask him where I might locate Bruno. He is next on my list to be interviewed. He says you'll probably find him with his nose stuck in a cookbook. I find Bruno wearing a blue apron, sitting on the floor, beside my barbecue with the cookbook on his lap. His paw is pointing to a recipe for trout with vegetables. Is this the recipe you wish to share with me? I ask. Bruno nods, yes. My first reaction is that this is not very imaginative. After hearing the other bears' recipes for floats, soups, teas, and desserts, Bruno sees a look of disappointment in my eyes. He says, this recipe may sound plain and ordinary, but it's not. It's all in the quality of the ingredients and its presentation. And how would you prepare this dish, I ask. He replies, the trout would be large, silvery, and pink in the flesh, adorned with a crown made of butter. It would be dressed with a kilt made with julienne carrots and shredded beets. The trout would be held up with asparagus spears and would rest on an island of broccoli and lemon wedges with heaps of neeps. The dish sounds quite regal. He was right. With simple ingredients, one could make an impressive dish. But why make a dish with a Scottish theme? And how big would this trout be? And what are neeps? I pose these questions to Bruno. To answer your last question first, neeps are rutabagas, Swedes, or turnips. They are round, purple, and yellow. The trout would have to be big, like a bull trout, which can weigh up to 14 kilograms. Why would you need such a massive trout, I asked. I was very puzzled, for Bruno is a large bear, but not a huge bear. Perhaps he was planning to share with Captain Bob. Why do you ask? I am surprised, says Bruno. I am planning for a special anniversary for Duncan. Then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. How could I possibly forget? It's Duncan's 25th anniversary with living with me. What a splendid idea. I give Bruno a big hug and tell him that he is a clever bear. We must indeed make plans that will involve all the bears who live in my house. I'm so excited that I forgot. I have one more bear to visit. I look at the clock, and the big hand says 12, and the little hand says 9. I must dash before Sleepy Bear retires for the night. Sleepy Bear is wearing his nightcap and is dressed in his blue terry cloth bathrobe. He is a bear of simple tastes. He's preparing his favorite bedtime snack. He has made a big mug of steaming hot cocoa with marshmallows as soft as pillows. Beside him is a bowl filled with popcorn, light and fluffy as clouds. He says that this treat gives him pleasant dreams. He looks so comfy that I did not wish to detain him from his bedtime routine, and I bid him a good night. So now we come to the end of this book. We've had a look at what my teddy bears like to eat. If you want to come for a meal, that's fine. The bears would be pleased to share. But don't stay past 9, for it is lights out.